talk about, I want to go over some points on the subject of divine intervention. Targets talk about divine intervention a lot, and this is a subject I really want to talk about because God does do divine intervention, but actually it's not as straightforward as we think, because in order to receive divine intervention you have to be right with God on a number of levels. You have to be walking a straight path with Him, because the word does say that the prayers of a righteous person availeth much, which means if you're walking a path of sin, then you can't expect to receive anything from God at all. But here's the thing, let's not be put off with what God can do, because sometimes the Lord can surprise you when you least expect it, and sometimes the most innocent person can just receive His divine intervention when he expects it not. When you have a person who has been plagued by another person consistently for years and years and years, especially when that person has defended themselves by pretending to be your friend and your ally, and for that reason you never suspected that they were not really supporting your well-being at all, and you maybe didn't even suspect that they were not a true friend. In that situation, you can expect to maybe receive some divine intervention when the devil mars it together with a kind of callous deception. But so here's you minding your own business, going about your life, not bothering anyone, and something just constantly keeps getting in your way, and this person just seems to want to know everything about you for no reason, and all you thought were that they were a really nice person, because they always seem to be supportive, So being the kind of Christian who doesn't want to seem ungrateful for their blessings, you carry on with the status quo, and then you wonder why God is not destroying your enemies. So if you're ever in a situation like that where you don't have a peace about someone, but everything seems to go wrong the moment they arrive, and they seem to just want to know everything about you, but deep inside you feel like actually they may really hate you, but you're not sure about it. The best thing you can actually do is separate yourself from that individual, get some space between you and them, and also I would advise to maybe pray and fast about it, to pray and fast, because there's something very powerful about doing that, even if it's for 2 days or 3 days. You can't do a dry fast because the person made you so physically unwell that you can't physically do it. Then don't do a dry fast, just do a drink fast, You can do a fast on juice if you really can't physically manage the whole thing, because that individual has paid people to make you so unwell that you can't do it. And I have had these strange situations, but I'm not sure about whether the individual is guilty or not guilty. I just don't have a peace about them. So the best way to find out is to do a fast. And also a prayer walk near that person's vicinity, but not next to them, away from them, Because if you're wrong, then the God of justice will bless that individual. God is not a narcissist, you know. He likes righteous people. So, like, if you're completely wrong, you got it wrong, and you're doing a prayer walk and a fast, then God will bless that person. But if they do have bad intentions towards you and they're carrying on, like they think they're getting away with it, and they're destroying your life behind the scenes, then, like, get ready for the next step of divine intervention. Now, the next step after you've done all of that is to separate yourself from that individual completely, if you can. And you tend to find that is the reason why these kind of people have a very unhealthy obsession about what you're doing all the time. It's all about, they may even have people spying on you, they may have set up secret webcams in your house to make you think you're delusional. But if this person really is a spy in that area type person, they will be watching your every move, and it's almost like a demon possession connected to this, because the moment you actually forget about that person, and the moment you just go off, haven't done your fast, haven't done your prayers, and you've cast your cares onto the Lord, who cares for you, the moment you do that successfully, then you go off and do God's business, it's kind of going to be around a time you're not thinking about the person that the Lord may strike his righteous right hand, you know? Because God's not going to strike your enemy down when you're thinking about them, because there's too much pride involved in that, you see? And God doesn't deal with people in the midst of pride. So if you're wanting divine intervention because you haven't forgiven, and because your pride is just there in the way of that injunction between you and that person, God's not going to give it to you unless you're kind of making yourself busy about his business. You're finding other things to do for God, basically. Which is why you may find that if you're in the vicinity, you have to go away to get your divine intervention, because when you're there, that person's going to be watching you more. You know, they obviously know a lot of people, so they're going to be using them to, like, watch your every move. And you're not going to be able to get that separation that you need away from them, you know? So, like, the next stage of divine intervention is space between you and that person. And what you find is they'll start texting you or something, you know. Now, once again, you could be wrong, in which case, once again, that person will just be blessed, not cursed, you know. God doesn't strike people down for nothing. But if they've been harbouring malice towards you and they've been covering it up, then, like, and acting on it and lying about it and thinking they're going to get away with it, I can assure you that God has seen everything, you know. And then another thing you have to have done before God acts on your behalf is spiritually warn the person in the most polite way possible, you know, because if you don't do it politely, they'll probably use that to gaslight you with. But if you just send them a scripture with the words on it, it doesn't necessarily mean that God is talking about them. The scripture is true whether they've been doing anything or not. And if they're innocent, then they may just think that you're talking for them, not against them. So again, if they're innocent, the scripture won't bother them, because the scripture is for them as much as anyone else. If they're guilty, then you've done your bit. You sent the word, you sent the scripture to warn about this kind of behaviour and where it results. So that means that person's blood is not in your hands anymore if God does divinely intervene, you know. And so that way, you've done that, you've done your fast, you've done your prayer, you've got out the way, you've tried to cut their constant spying off you, and trust me, this person is demonically obsessed about watching your every move if they are guilty. And then you just get your pride out of your way and let God move and go and do something else, preferably that you enjoy doing that's righteous, and find other opportunities to talk to people about God or do something else. Now, if in my case that person hurt you so physically bad that you found it difficult to do that, God will make a way where there is no way. But the best thing to do is not wish any ill on anyone, but just leave it. When you get to the point where you're impartial, like, where you really want God to give you an injunction against someone who's harming you, like, venomously with your heart, so that God can use you for your divine calling. But you also genuinely do earnestly hope that that person repents of their actions. When you're in that place of separation, you know you're in the right place. And God may act for you. God will act for you if you are His chosen man or woman. If you are His anointed person who just wants to see the will of God done in people's lives. But it's very important to get your pride out of the way, no matter how much you deserve, for God to just stop it. And maybe not even just for you, but to protect your family as well, because the person has even made you concerned for them. And you've done absolutely nothing. You have never attacked that person. You have never attacked their household. You've never threatened them. You've never harbored any malice towards them. It just came from nowhere, And so, and to just surround yourself with other Christians who don't have ill intentions towards you. So, I needed to do a talk about divine intervention. God is still a God who cares. God is still a God who acts. And God still is a God who cares about wicked and cruel behaviour that is totally unprovoked and totally unwarranted, and causes you such profound physical loss that you need God to just intervene to stop it. So can I just encourage you today with your relationship with God, because it's not easy to live in a world where not everybody is for you, and not everybody wants to see you doing well. So I say bye now.